Joining me now live for more on this via Skype from LA is Peter Mathews, Professor of Political Science at Cyprus College. Peter, thanks very much for your time today. Look, pretty major developments here. Can you sum up Donald Trump's main defence in terms of any links he has to these hush payments?
He claims that it was for personal reasons. He did not want his wife to know about the women outside of marriage, but that's a little camouflage, it seems to me, because the main thing that is the timing. It was done just before the 2016 election. It was clearly done in order to prevent these women from speaking out before Election Day, when the voters could have turned against Mr. Trump. Even a small segment of evangelical voters who would have turned against him could have cost him the election. So that was election-related activity, and the District of New York's attorney said, that Southern District of New York said that Mr. Trump was actually directing and coordinating with that particular Michael Cohen, the lawyer, to make the payments to Stormy Daniels and to also arrange for payments through the other McDougal. So this is very clearly connected. And if that's the case, then the president's guilty of felonious activity, and that's ground not only for impeachment, but possibly indictment and trial after he leaves the office. Very, very serious right now.
So let's go through the first phase. Democrats talking about impeachment in the House. That the saying often is that the Senate actually convicts. Is there any sign that it's going to be bipartisan? Because with that strong majority needed in the Senate for impeachment, but a strong majority for the Republican Party, is it likely to be another partisan element of politics in the US?
Well, in the Senate, it does take 2/3, which means 66 votes, and you only have 47 Democrats there to do it. So they'll have to get at least 20 Republicans to join them. And I think this could happen if the Republicans see that the president's been doing things that are very serious, that it could easily be seen as a felony. And when the Republicans see that, and when they start seeing the public turn against the president, if they do, and when enough of the public turns against him, then the Republican senators will also join in conviction, or at least in trial and eventually conviction if there's enough evidence. That could happen. It happened in Watergate to some extent. Some Republicans changed their minds once they saw the public changing its mind. And we're on our way, I think, right now. I think Mr. Trump is in pretty hot water at this point, especially after the Cohen revelation and his claims as to what happened, how Trump directed him.
Right, so you really think it could shift that far? Because what we've seen so far, despite a lot of criticism of Donald Trump, is that his rusted on supporters have stayed there. Are they the ones that would have to leave to change the minds of those Republicans?
Only a small number of them. And already you'll see some of them being peeled off in the midterm elections, where suburban women, who are mostly Republican voters, Republican suburban women, voted for the Democrats in the House this time around and gave the Democrat the majority, which doesn't usually happen. And that was because they were voting against Mr. Trump's malfeasance, his activity, the allegations about him. So just a small segment has turned against him for it to be perilous for Mr. Trump's reelection. He only won by, he got less than half, got less than what Hillary Clinton did, 3 million votes less, but he won by about, I think, 80,000 votes in 3 key states or swing states. He has to retain those people, and if you lose any of them, that's it, it's finished. He could lose the election in 2020 as well. Or even if things happen soon and he gets impeached, that even puts a mark on him, even though he may not get removed.
It's pretty high stakes stuff, Peter.
It really is.
Actual possibility, I don't know if you want to put a percentage on it, if you want to be that bold, that this will actually happen?
Definitely the impeachment could happen. Over 0.5% chance, over 50% chance it could happen because the Democrats control the House. In the Senate, it's going to take a bit of an uphill climb to get the Republicans to change their minds, unless the public is seen as it's changing its mind. Don't forget the words unindicted co-conspirator. This was a term that was used by the Watergate jury, the Watergate grand jury, to label President Nixon when he was forced to resign. That was a very heavy term, unindicted co-conspirator. And some legal experts are saying at this point, Mr. Trump could be considered possibly an unindicted co-conspirator. So we're actually moved much further than we were just a month ago or a couple of weeks ago even, I would say.
Just finally, amongst all of this, perhaps not surprisingly, it appears that Donald Trump is struggling to find another chief of staff.
Yes, he is. It's just incredible what all the things he's going through. John Kelly is going to leave at the end of the month. I believe it was probably at the request of the president. He didn't like John Kelly's style of trying to organize the White House and keep people, organized way, having people come in the Oval Office. Trump is much more freewheeling. He's spontaneous. He didn't like Kelly's style, and also disagreed on a couple of issues with Kelly, especially the white supremacist issue. Kelly was very angry at Trump for not condemning the white supremacists in Charlottesville instead equivocating and giving false equivalence to both sides. Kelly was very furious about that. There are other things that they disagreed on as well. I think Kelly's ready to get out now anyway. It should be very interesting to see what happens after that. Who will Trump get for chief of staff? It may not make a difference because the way Trump runs his White House.
Indeed. Look, developments we'll have to be keeping across. It's a fascinating time over there. Peter Mathews from Cyprus College, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Well, a cyclone warning has been declared